Alright, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today I've got a story time that was sent in to me about this dude's stepbrother who's younger than him. He doesn't live at home anymore, but he ended up hearing about this story from his dad and just immediately sent it on over. Basically, this dude's stepbrother is one of those kids that feels like he shouldn't have to do literally anything but be able to have all the money that everybody makes and do whatever he wants. To the point where he literally won't clean his room, do his dishes, shower, literally anything unless you bribe him with video game time or, money of some sort. And this dude is literally able to drive a car age, right? It's not like he's a little kid to the point where, he's just throwing temper tantrums very often. No, this dude is literally old enough to be operating machinery, potentially getting in an accident. So definitely a little bit too old to be skipping showers and not willing to clean up your room or do the dishes unless you get bribed. And I guess this dude's dad and his stepmom had been having talks about what they should do about this, because obviously if this kid ends up going to college or trying to be an adult with this attitude, it's not going to go well. And the stepmom, it was her youngest son, so she was a lot about well, it's my baby, I don't necessarily want to force him to grow up. And he's like, yeah, I understand not wanting to force your kid to grow up, but at some point he also has to realize that he needs to shower. He needs to realize that he can't just come ask me for money and then just annoy me until I give it to him. At some point he's got to have some responsibility. And so the stepmom said that they were going to do a cleaning chart, right? Which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, really doesn't seem that bad. Basically, he was going to have to just clean something every day. It wasn't even like they were going to make him spend all of one day cleaning. It was just hey, when you get home on Wednesday, you've got to clean your room. Hey, when you get home on Thursday, you're going to clean your bathroom. Whatever, it was supposed to just make things easier. And honestly, the stepmom was trying to be as nice as humanly possible. It was her son. She's like, look, I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but it's probably about time you start learning how to take care of yourself and take care of a house. So she presented him with this chart. And you would think that this spoiled kid's mom, bro, just told him that he himself was going to be shipped off to the diamond mines. He starts going off about how this is so unfair. He's just a kid. He should have no expectations put on him. And at this point, his mom is starting to get annoyed, right? She's like, listen, you don't have a lot of responsibility on you. I pay for your car. I pay for your gas. I pay for everything. You don't have a job. You don't do anything. The least you can do is clean one thing every day, right? This is not unfair. If anything, it's just the bare minimum, right? Because let's be honest, if you're not able to take care of yourself, it doesn't matter that you're a kid. The second you turn 18, you're just gonna have a really rough time. You're gonna go off to college without your mom and be like, wait a second, my clothes aren't getting clean magically. Because you never learned to do laundry, bro. At some point, you gotta start learning this stuff. But whatever, the stepmom is starting to realize that this kid is just insanely entitled because he's arguing with her about how, it's basically child labor that you're gonna make me clean my bathroom. And she shuts it down. And she's like, listen, you're going to do this. It doesn't matter. You're old enough to figure out how to clean a bathroom, so there's no problem. And unless you do something to catastrophically destroy the house, that's the way it's gonna stay. And I'm not really sure why she said that, probably to just be listen, man, unless you're willing to be out of the home, there's no way you're gonna get out of doing chores. I don't think she was being serious, right? Obviously, you would think that you would never be willing to damage your own home. Well, apparently, this dude's stepbrother took it to heart and just started with the strategy of, if I do a really, really bad job, they'll just get annoyed and won't make me keep doing it. So the first day, he's supposed to clean his room, he just shoved everything under his bed. Sure enough, his mom came in and was like, everything's under your bed, you gotta do it again. And they argued and argued and argued, and finally, after arguing for 3 hours, the mom finally relented. She shouldn't have relented, but bro, after a 3-hour argument, it's whatever, just stay in your dirty room then. But at that point, this spoiled kid thought that he had the upper hand, right? He's like, see, if I just do a bad enough job, eventually they'll cave in and I won't have to clean anything. So he extrapolated that and tried to do it the next day in the bathroom, and this is where everything goes wrong. I guess, his mom had told him that he needed to clean the shower and the floors and all that. So he decided what he was going to do is plug the bath drain, take a rag and cover up that emergency drain thing, and run the bath and then go play video games. He figured that the bath would fill up and maybe flood the bathroom a little bit, and when his mom got home, he would just be like, oh no, I forgot. The only problem is, I don't think this guy at all ever thought through how the water was just going to keep going. When you plug the emergency drain, right? Once the water gets over the tub, it's not like the faucet goes, oh, I'm just gonna turn off now. It's not a smart faucet, bro. If you've plugged all the drains and you leave a tub alone for a few hours, you're not coming back to a flooded bathroom, you're coming back to a huge problem. And the problem is discovered when the dude's dad gets home from work. I guess the way that this house was set up, the dad would park on this driveway that kind of went around behind the house, and he would walk up to the back of the house and come in the basement door and then go up these stairs to the kitchen, right? So honestly, he was coming in through the basement. And when he opens the basement door, he's very confused because he looks and he's like, wow, the ground's kind of shiny. And he looks closer and he realizes that there's probably an inch of water on the floor. And immediately he starts screaming. He's like, the house is flooding, the house is flooding. And he runs into the basement and there's probably about an inch of water there. And he starts going up the stairs, which goes to the second floor. And when he opens the door to the stairs, it's just like out of Jumanji, bro. There's a river coming down these stairs. Obviously, this dum-dum had left the tub running at this point for a few hours. He had forgotten about his original plan, so the house is literally just flooding. And so the dad starts trying to go up these stairs like, a drunk elephant climbing a slip and slide. After a 20-minute battle, he finally gets upstairs and he's like, is anyone home? Is anyone home? And he hears his stepson just screaming, playing video games in his room. So he goes up there and he's like, why is the house flooding? And at that moment, the kid looks at him and goes, I'm in a game. And that's what's mind-blowing to me, bro. You think as soon as your stepdad runs in and goes, why is the house flooding? You would remember, oh crap, I left the bath running. Oh no, I flooded the entire house. But nah, homie was really just so focused. He was like, excuse me, how dare you interrupt me during my gaming time? Anyways, the dad's like, I don't care about your game. Dude, the house is flooding. The house is flooding. And reluctantly, he gets up out of his gamer chair and he starts following the dad out into the hallway. And when he gets out into the hallway and goes down from the second floor and looks down into the landing of the first floor, he's like, oh wow, the house is flooding. Nonchalantly like that, no urgency. And he's like, yeah, what happened? And he begins to explain to the stepdad that, well, I was trying to show you guys that there's no reason to have me doing the chores, so I was gonna mess it up. So I plugged the emergency drain and left the tub on, but I thought it would just turn off. And he's like, why would it just turn off? And he's like, well, because otherwise it would flood the house. Yeah, exactly, bro. That's why you don't plug the emergency drain. What do you think it's there for? Anyways, the stepdad at that point is like, I cannot believe how dumb you are. This is insane. You flooded the entire house and you don't even care. And he's like, well, whatever. You can just get the water out. It's not like it'll be that expensive. So not only is this dude like, I don't want to do my laundry. I don't want to do my dishes. I don't want to do anything. But on top of that, apparently has also just lost his grip on reality. First of all, spending any money on repairs that you don't need to spend is a waste of money. If you could just not flood the entire house and have to replace all the carpet in the basement, that's the ideal situation. But on top of that, yeah, I feel like renovating a flooded house is a pretty expensive thing, bro. Oh, whatever, it won't be that bad. Clearly never owned a house and had to replace everything. Not that a ton of people have owned a house, but I feel like it's common sense that if you flood your entire basement, it's gonna cause problems. Probably very expensive problems. I don't have a basement, but I can certainly tell you if it flooded, I would be concerned. The stepdad at this point is like, look, you need to go turn off the bathtub. And he goes, I don't want to. He's still saying he doesn't want to. So at that point, the stepdad is like, go to the bathroom and turn off the tub now. So he goes down the stairs to the first floor, goes to his bathroom and is turning off the tub and is like, the entire time muttering under his breath about how this is so stupid. He should have just hired a plumber to fix this. And listen, bro, you're right. They're probably gonna have to hire a plumber and a contractor and a bunch of people to fix this stuff. But this all could have been avoided by just cleaning the bathroom. Or, dude, listen, okay, you should have just cleaned the bathroom. We're all in agreement. I don't think anyone here is advocating for never cleaning where you poop. That being said, dude, if you weren't gonna clean it, why not just not clean it? What in your mind made you go, I don't want to clean this bathroom, so I'll just flood the entire house instead? Anyways, he turns off the tub, and after muttering under his breath, the stepdad is like, you don't realize how big of a deal this is. We're probably not going to be able to live here until all of this is fixed. And at that point, it finally starts to click. But instead of feeling bad or having remorse, he instantly is just like, am I going to be in trouble? And the stepdad's like, well, I haven't talked to your mom, but yeah, you're probably going to be in trouble considering you just flooded the entire house to try to avoid chores, dude. I think you'd probably be in trouble even if this was an accident. But the fact that it's his entire master plan to avoid avoid doing basic chores? Yeah, I'm assuming your parents might be mad, bro. Anyways, at that point, he freaks out, grabs his car keys, and takes off to his car, which his mom and dad pay for, and takes off to, like, go hide somewhere because he's afraid. So he immediately calls his wife, right, and is like, the house is flooded. I don't know what's going on. He doesn't want to blame the kid entirely. Like, you know, I don't know why, because it's definitely his fault, but he's not about to just start screaming at her, like, your son flooded our house, because it's not going to change anything, and, you know, like, who would have expected that? It's not her fault that her son flooded the house. She was the one trying to get him to do the chore chart. Should it have been sooner? Yeah. But it's not like this lady, in her wisdom, was like, my son's an idiot who's going to flood the house. Why would you ever think that about your own kid? But she comes home, and they end up, like, bucketing and squeegeeing out as much as they can, and they're hoping that the water damage isn't going to be that bad, but it becomes very apparent that, like, all the drywall that had been touched, all the baseboards, the flooring, obviously had been sitting in water for a few hours at that point, and yeah, that's not too great for it. And the stepmom, realizing the extent of the flooding and how big the damage was going to be, calls her son, and she's like, where are you? You need to come home. You flooded this entire house. And listen, he's been gone for a bit. Obviously, he fled when he realized it was pretty bad. But you'd think at this point he'd be like, all right, you know, I've got to come home. I've got to deal with what happened. I did flood the house. But he starts yelling at his mom, who has him on speaker. He's like, you are not to speak to me that way. That's so disrespectful. No need to raise your voice at me. Literally yelling at her, you know, not understanding the irony of that. And the stepmom's like, of course I'm mad at you. You flooded the house. And he starts trying to spin it into being her fault. He's like, well, if you would have never tried to make me do chores, then all of this would have been avoided. Like, you know, if you wouldn't have made me try to clean my room in the bathroom, I wouldn't have felt the need to try to sabotage my chores, and therefore, this is all your fault that you flooded the house, so you shouldn't be mad at me about it. Which makes literally no sense, bro. First of all, you have a car, so you're old enough to clean your bathroom in your room. Hell, bro, I think a 7-year-old could probably handle cleaning their bathroom and their room. Like, that's not especially hard. The fact that you were like, it was just so unfair that you asked me to do it that I had to sabotage it. Because you didn't have to sabotage it either. Like, you could have just done it. You know, I don't think your mom is at fault for trying to make you a responsible adult. What do you want me to be, Mom? Someone that can take care of myself eventually and not have to live with you forever? It's like, well, when you put it that way, yeah, I guess that's kind of the whole point. But the stepmom is having none of it, and rightfully so, because this is ridiculous. She starts being like, literally, you're old enough to drive a car, you're about to be an adult, and apparently cleaning your room and your bathroom is too much for you and you can't do it without destroying a house. Are you kidding me? And he's like, well, kind of stammering because I don't think he expected to be hit with a truth bomb like that. And she's like, listen, you are to get back here within the hour, otherwise, you know, you're gonna regret it. And he's like, well, now you're threatening me. And she's like, it's not a threat. You just need to come back and deal with this problem or there's gonna be a bigger problem. And, you know, he kind of blows her off. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he ends up not coming home that night. He spends the night at one of his friends' houses, and his mom keeps calling him and he keeps being like, I'm not coming home, blah, 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 blah. This is dumb. You need to calm down. Until you say I'm not in trouble, I'm not coming home. Well, he comes home the next day, and as soon as he does, the stepmom takes his keys and is like, I pay for the car, the insurance, and the gas, so you're not driving anymore. On top of that, you know, they had some professionals come out and look at the damage, and it was even worse than it had just looked. The house was already a little bit older, so a lot of like the electrical and whatnot had gotten messed up by the flood, and it was gonna be over $10,000 to repair. I don't know the exact amount, he didn't put it in there, but over 10 grand, which is a pretty solid chunk of change, and they were gonna pay for it, but he was going to have to get a job at one of their friends' ice cream stands and pay them back. And they're breaking this down for him, and he's like, this is so unfair, you guys hate me. And usually they would break, but they're like, listen, we don't hate you, this is not unfair. You flooded the house because you were too lazy to do chores. We were trying to do this the nice way. So yeah, now you're gonna go work a job and pay us back the way that normal people have to pay stuff back when they damage somebody's house. And he's like, this is so unfair. You guys can pay it. I don't understand why I do. And they're like, because this is your problem, dude. If you went out and crashed into somebody else's car, you got to pay for it. Your insurance does. You flood my house, you have to help pay for it. Especially because it's not like it was an accident. You know, even in an accident, you probably still should help out. You purposely flooded the house. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? They were just gonna be cool with it and pay for it? Anyways, obviously the idea of work and consequences is not too fond on this dude's list, so he starts being like, well, you know, Dad would never make me do this, da-da-da-da-da, it's my stepdad trying to drive a wedge between us. And his mom cuts him off. She's like, listen, I'm not even gonna let you go there. This was not his idea at all. And truthfully, obviously this guy's dad had been mad that his stepson had flooded the house, but like he hadn't decided to take the car. He hadn't decided to make him pay for it. Obviously it was stuff that he wanted to happen, but he understood that wasn't his place. No, she had called his dad and they had decided together what the punishment was going to be. So even though he's trying to spin out of it again, she's like, listen, buddy, even your dad agrees that, yeah, you have to pay for it because you flooded the house and there has to be consequences. Because clearly somewhere along the line, we messed up and you think you can just do nothing and get money forever. And he's literally like sitting there stammering, realizing there's really not a way out of this. So after trying everything, he's like, well, then I'm gonna run away. And they're like, okay, man, well, if you run away, we're just gonna call the cops or they're gonna bring you back. You're almost an adult. As soon as you're 18, I guess you don't have to deal with us. But until then, yeah, you gotta help us. And at that point, he storms upstairs and they're like, whatever, just like let him storm up there for a bit. It's fine. So they're eating dinner. Everything's going normal. And he comes back into the kitchen and he's like, why did no one come check on me? And they're like, because you're still gonna have to do the job and you still gotta help us fix the flood damage, you know? Usually he would like run up to his room and then someone go up there and he'd be like, this is unfair. And they'd be like, all right, fine. But yeah, this time obviously they were able to stay mad a little bit longer because he had caused $10,000 worth of damage to the house and flooded the basement on purpose. You know, I feel like that's something you're probably not gonna get out of by just pouting really hard. Anyways, relentlessly like complaining the entire time. He did end up paying his parents back. And when I say relentlessly complaining the entire time, I mean when this dude ended up going home for the holidays, literally all his brother talked about was how unfair it was that he had to work a job to pay his parents back because they could have afforded to just pay for the repairs. Like, yeah, dude, even if they could have afforded it, that's not the point. The point isn't to just break people's stuff because they can afford a new one. Imagine, dude, you see a Lambo on the street, you're like, listen, if I total your car, you could afford one Lambo, so therefore me no pay Lambo I break. But yeah, overall, I would recommend, you know, if somebody asks you to just clean the bathroom, just clean the bathroom. It's a lot easier to clean the bathroom than it is to flood the entire house. That I can promise. It's also not very fun to live in a flood house because they did end up having to like stay in an Airbnb for a few weeks just because of all the damage to their house. So add that to the 10 grand in repairs. You know, this was a pretty pricey scenario. So yeah, overall would just not recommend flooding your own house. 0 out of 10. I would also recommend if you accidentally flood your house, probably better to just help your parents pay for it and come clean rather than like try to blame it on them. Listen, just because I decided to flood the house doesn't mean that I should be the one getting punished, okay? I'm your kid, so technically this is all on you. But yeah, on that note, guys, I think that's gonna do it. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I would really appreciate y'all taking a second to press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought. If you don't know what to comment, just comment the word boop down below. But yeah, on that note, that'll do it. If you really want to help me out, I do post my story times on Spotify, the audio version, if you want to listen without gameplay, offline, whatever floats your boat, link down below. And yeah, on that note, I'm gonna go flood the bathroom. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.